In this lecture, which is part 1 of online advertising, we are going to discuss advertising mediums, targeted advertising. We're going to look at 3 use cases and important concepts, and we will finish by discussing mobile hardware and advertisers. A little bit of context will help set the stage here. There are traditionally 2 advertising mediums. There's traditional advertising, which includes print, TV, and radio, and there is now digital advertising, which includes computers, laptops, and mobile devices. The most recent and dependable statistics I was able to find on these are from 2019, and you can look at the discrepancy between these 2 numbers here. In 2019, $110 billion was spent on the traditional mediums, whereas in that same year, $130 billion was spent on digital. Drilling down one level lower, $87 billion was spent on mobile, whereas $42 billion was spent on desktop computers and laptops. The numbers here make a pretty clear case that the vast majority of spending is going not only to digital, but is going to mobile platforms. There are 3 types of targeted advertising that you need to know for the CIPP US. These are retargeted, contextual, and behavioral. And we're going to discuss each of these in turn. With retargeted advertising, an advertiser is following you across websites. And for this example, I want you to imagine that you go to a shoe retailer website, right? This is a shoe manufacturer that creates sports shoes, running shoes, what have you. And you're looking at a number of different pairs, checking out styles and colors, but in the end, you decide not to make a purchase. Later on, you're on a completely different website that is not related to shoes whatsoever, and you see an advertisement for the same pair of shoes that you saw on the shoe retailer's website. What's happened here is that the shoe retailer knows that you were looking at this pair of shoes. They handed that data off to an affiliate, and while you're on this other website, they were able to show you an ad for that pair of shoes. With contextual advertising, ads are shown within the same category. For example, you're looking to buy airline tickets, and while you're on a website looking for airline tickets, you also see ads related to luggage and neck pillows and so forth. A similar situation would be that you're looking for recipes online, and while you're looking at different recipes, you see advertising for cookbooks or for different types of kitchen appliances. This is contextual because in the travel case, you're seeing travel-related ads. In the recipe cookbook-related case, you're seeing things related to cooking. Finally, there's behavioral advertising, and this is where predictive ads are shown based on aggregated data. And so the advertisers have been able to collect data on your online search history, on your behavior, perhaps based on social media. They've aggregated that data and they've made some predictions, and those predictions may place you in certain behavioral groups. One example, let's imagine that it's early August. You've been visiting different school websites, maybe one elementary school, maybe another one for a middle school, even a high school, perhaps a college. So you're visiting different school websites. You're also going to big box online retailers and you're looking for backpacks and pencils and glue sticks and lunch boxes and so forth. Well, all of that activity across a number of different websites, that data is being aggregated by someone somewhere, and you're being categorized as a back-to-school shopper. So now, when you're not doing any back-to-school shopping, assuming you were, perhaps you're reading an article on a newspaper website, or, perhaps you're on an airline website looking at tickets, or you're shopping for shoes. Well, on these other websites that are completely unrelated to back-to-school shopping, you were shown back-to-school advertisements. Now we're going to look at 3 use cases. We're going to look at Cambridge Analytica, we're going to look at surveillance capitalism, and we're going to look at this idea of the attention economy. These are really brief references for you to explore on your own if you're interested. The point of me sharing these here are to give you some real life cases regarding data aggregation. And if you're interested in these topics, these are all really great sources for you to pursue and learn more on your own time. So the Cambridge Analytica scandal came about in 2018. And the scandal was, as you'll see in the documentary The Great Hack, which last time I checked is still available on Netflix. As you'll see in the documentary, Cambridge Analytica was a company that scraped data from 87 million Americans off of Facebook. And with this aggregate data, they created psychographic profiles to predict user behavior. And this would be an example of behavioral advertising that we just looked at. Based on the online activity of all of these individuals, advertisers or other nefarious organizations were then able to deliver targeted advertising. Now, when I say advertising, this isn't advertising just in the sense that I'm trying to sell you something. These were also political campaign messages and disinformation and misinformation. And so there were organizations that were out there that were actively looking to persuade or dissuade individuals from participating in different types of political activity. I'll leave it there because this is a really deep topic that we could talk a lot about. If you're interested in learning more, this Netflix documentary is highly recommended. Another concept that you may have come across is this idea of surveillance capitalism. And in short, this is defined as the profit-driven incentive to collect and aggregate massive amounts of personal data in order to effectively deliver targeted advertising. This idea of surveillance capitalism came from the self-titled book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, The Fight for a Human Future at the New Frontier of Power. Another concept, and the final use case that we'll discuss here, is this idea of the attention economy. And this term, the attention economy, comes from a scholar named Herbert Simon. And the idea that he put forth is that a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. And the idea here is that people are so overstimulated and have so many different platforms, messages, what have you, that are trying to attract their attention, that the individuals have no one thing that they can focus on, right? It's being overstimulated, having an abundance of options, right? Where should you devote your time? We can apply this idea of the attention economy to online advertising in the sense that when we think about social media or other online applications, one of the primary objectives of these applications, whether it's social media or mobile gaming, is to keep us engaged. Our time is limited. This is one thing that we can never get more of. We can never create more hours in a day. Because our time is limited, our attention is limited. And so the objective of these apps is to keep us engaged with their app on their platform for as long as possible. They want to keep us engaged for a sustained time because more engagement means more opportunity to serve ads. Mobile hardware can be an incredibly rich source of data for online digital advertisers. A few things to think about. The average mobile device, and I'm thinking about iPhones here, have well over a dozen different sensors. These are GPS sensors, these are Bluetooth beacons, Wi-Fi receivers, etc. And this hardware can provide advertisers with a lot of really good information that allows them to target us with extremely precise advertising. If you think about the traditional newspaper or print, poster that you see up in the mall or a billboard or whatnot, this static form of advertising had a very high miss rate. Not everyone who sees a commercial on cable television or an advertisement in the newspaper or when driving their car past a billboard, Not everyone is going to be interested in that. In fact, a lot of advertisers, when they're using this traditional form of media, would put something up and, just hope that the right number of people would see it and it would generate business for them. But with mobile hardware, not only with the hardware that we see on this slide, but with the aggregation of data across a number of different platforms, what advertisers are able to do now is they're able to create a profile on us, on our behavior, and they're able to say with a certain degree of certainty that, hey, this person's going to be really interested in back to school deals, or hey, I'm pretty sure this person is in the market for a pair of running shoes. And this is how all of the data that we're producing is useful to advertisers and how it's being used. In this lecture, we have discussed advertising mediums such as traditional and digital. We went over the 3 categories of targeted advertising that you need to know for the CIPP US. These include retargeted, contextual, and behavioral. The 3 use cases that we looked at are Cambridge Analytica, surveillance capitalism, and the attention economy. We discussed the interplay between mobile hardware and advertisers. In short, mobile hardware provides a rich source of data for advertisers and allows advertisers to precisely target their target populations